Hello.
Can you hear us? So Commissioner Dreistad, can you hear us? Yes. Well, Mayor Pro Tem and I can just spread all of them out.
Congratulations, Mr. Dreistad. I heard you're the new chair of the planning commission. Thank you. Here's all cut.
Oh, there's Commissioner Beam. I sent it. Yeah.
Here's Anya's. I can't join and have asked Adam to. Thanks for everything.
Should we wait for Adam or should we get him? We'll give it just one more minute, so we'll give Adam the opportunity to join us.
There's Adam.
All right, I will call the Thursday, February 16th, 2023 Town of Lyons Renewal Authority meeting to order. May we please have the roll call clerk?
Yes, Chair Rogan,
Present.
Commissioner Farrell,
Present.
Commissioner Delman, Commissioner Dottie. She raised her hand.
She raised her hand.
Commissioner Edding, Commissioner Elson,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Dreistad,
Present.
Commissioner Beam,
Present.
Commissioner Cope,
Present.
and Commissioner Segrist.
Present. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
For all.
You, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
That's fine.
I move to approve the agenda. Here, is there a second? Commissioner Dottie seconds. Any discussion? No. Okay, we'll vote to approve the agenda.
If you'll raise your hands if you vote to approve the agenda. And the motion passes all in favor.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have consent agenda. Would you please read the consent agenda?
Yes, they are the January 19th, 2023 Laura meeting minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreistad, is there a second? Commissioner Dottie seconds with the sign. Is there anything, would anybody like to pull the minutes from consent? Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, on to general business. I see we have Mr. Cassidy on the line. General business is resolution 2023-02. A resolution of the Town of Lyons Urban Renewal Authority approving the redevelopment and reimbursement agreement with Moss Rock Development LLC. Is there a staff report?
Attorney Quandra, do you want to review or would you like me to?
Sure, I'm happy to. Caitlin Quander, legal counsel to the authority. As you have seen over the past handful of months, through various presentations by Moss Rock Development and discussions that this board has had, Moss Rock has requested the pledge of certain tax increment that it anticipates its hotel project would generate in order to be able to finance certain improvements up front. We have had a variety of discussions over time, and I'm delighted to say that what is before you, along with the draft resolution, has been negotiated by the parties. I'll just walk through it really quickly for you. There was one final change that did come through by email, so I will particularly call that out. In reviewing the agreement, I just note the authority will capture an administrative fee of 2% each year of the increment collected. So that helps pay for Cassie's or other administrative time in calculating and sharing out the increment. As a reminder, we have a deadline for commencement of construction of December 15th, 2023. If the developer does not commence construction by that time, this agreement terminates. They could certainly come back and ask for an extension, but without further agreement by the board or an amendment, this agreement would terminate. So the intention is to make sure that they're kind of moving forward with their project. They do go through a process to access the increment. Just to be clear, they may not receive any increment until the project is completed. And the agreement outlines a process under which they go through certifying that completion for the town and the authority in order to be able to request tax increment for eligible costs. At the end of the agreement is a list of eligible costs that have previously been presented to the board. Happy to answer any particular questions there. So those are eligible costs and eligible improvements. I also note we've included a legal fee within the agreement. So before any increment is paid out, the authority will retain a legal fee to repay itself for the legal and administrative review time in preparing this. And as you may recall, there is a maximum reimbursement amount. And so even if the project were to generate more than that number, once they hit that number, that would be the maximum. Let's see, what else would I call out for you? We did build in section 8 in particular, a couple of project specific requirements of the request to the board, for example, related to their efforts around the underground storage tanks and disposal, efforts to locally hire a muralist, and then after last month's meeting, a section on hotel branding. So to ensure that even if the hotel is associated with a hotel operating brand, that the signage is limited. There was a comment from the developer on that front requesting that they modify the agreement, which is what was circulated this afternoon, so that they could have a plaque of not greater than 24 inches by 24 inches near the front of the hotel. But there would not be any other flag signage on the exterior of the hotel. I think with that, I will stop and certainly can answer any questions. And I see the applicant requesting developer Adam Cassidy is also here in case there are particular questions for him. What did I miss, Victoria? Anything?
I don't believe so, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Attorney Ponder. I have to say, it is exciting to be at this point. And Adam, if we could see you, I'm sure they would be smiling. And nodding your head in agreement. So are there any questions for Attorney Ponder? Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cassidy?
Commissioner Drystad has his hand up.
Thank you. Commissioner Drystad, please. You're on mute.
Yes, what is the source and who is the author of the wording related to the plaque?
Hi, thanks, Commissioner. Adam here. I can tell you, I don't have a written document to share with regard to the specific signage requirements of Marriott, but I know that we have engaged a soft brand called the Tribute Portfolio, and I have confirmed with Marriott that they don't mandate or require any of their corporate signage to be present on the exterior building, but for a plaque at the hotel entry, which simply says, if the hotel were called Hotel Lyons, the plaque would say Hotel Lyons, a Tribute Portfolio Hotel by Marriott. And that plaque would be, near the front door, not illuminated, but just a small plaque. Kind of the dimensions that we provided in the agreement would be kind of the outside would be the largest. I hope this bit of detail helps.
Are there, it's a bit vague. Well, just
How can I elaborate?
well, I don't want to go into comments at this point, just questions about what the requirement appears to be and what the latitudes might be.
Yeah.
Which you've explained pretty well.
I believe that your concern, and I say the board's concern, is that the signage of this hotel would take away from the independent and local nature of this project. This brand that we've engaged is exactly in support of this type of initiative. They don't tell us how to name our hotel. We would name the hotel, and we would design a sign, a logo, naming convention for the property, and we would mount it in a way that meets the town's design standards. So I believe the concern would be that, Marriott, the word Marriott illuminated at the top of the building would not be desirable to the town of Lyons. You'd want, a more rustic, historic reference. And that is what our intention is. We're in the process of naming the hotel. We haven't quite finished that process, but the only signage that you'll see from afar is the hotel name. Any signage that's mandated by Marriott is limited to a plaque at the front door. And so I can follow up with written standards. I can follow up with written dimensions of the plaque and what the plaque would look like. I tried to prepare for this. I tried researching and finding examples, but I just couldn't do so online in a short time.
Is that satisfactory for now, Commissioner Grayson? Is that satisfactory for now, Commissioner Grayson?
It does answer the question. Commissioner Williams appears to have a question.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Williams.
I've stayed in Marriott properties over 1,000 nights. I prefer their autograph collection or their tribute portfolio precisely because you do not know that it is a Marriott property, except for that very small sign in the front and always inside behind the check-in counter, a sign that says Marriott Bonvoy. So
That's it. Perfect. Well said. I wish I could have said it better myself. That's precisely it.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant or for staff? I have a question, Adam, for you, and I think that we've talked about this in the past, but it's never been memorialized as far as I remember, in regards to the commercial space in the hotel.
Yes.
Are you open to offering first right of refusal to that space to businesses that are currently located in Lyons?
First right of refusal in a like a contractual format?
Right, as rental. So say you have 5 commercial spaces and you're looking to lease them. Would you offer them first to businesses that are currently located in Lyons?
We would absolutely be happy to collect ideas and proposals from local businesses. But I don't think we'd go as far as what, you said right of first refusal as like a contractual obligation. I don't think we'd go that far, but we would absolutely be very interested in exploring potential relationships with local businesses. That would be ideal.
Is it your intention to use the commercial space for more local small businesses or for larger chains?
Definitely not larger chains. It's not a large enough space, and it's also not the kind of character of this hotel.
Mm-hmm. I think the concern is, like, I personally don't imagine that anybody on this commission would like to see a Prada store pop up in the lobby of the hotel, for example, except maybe Commissioner Carol next to me,
Did you say? I'm sorry. Did you say Prada?
I did.
Okay. Yeah. Good example. I don't envision that. That's definitely not part of the business plan. Fashion, that upscale. We're trying to create offerings that fit this market, that fit this town, that are frequented by the community as much as the hotel guest. That's our business plan. And we've sort of, that's been in our development agreement from day one. We've committed to creating something that is not just for hotel guests, but it's also for the local community. And so we want to see the community populating the building as much as we want to see hotel guests enjoying the building. And we're trying to balance it. When it comes to commercial space and the viability of businesses, signing a lease, we just don't know yet. I would say that a large scale chain, the possibility of that is extremely low. It's just a really small space, and it's not really the nature of this hotel.
How big is if you don't mind reminding me, how big is the commercial space?
Without the floor plan in front of me, it's less than 1,000 square feet at this point.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for that. I see Commissioner Doty. Yes. You have a question?
Yes, thank you. And I really appreciate Commissioner Drysdale and Chair Rogan's questions. So thank you for raising those. So I just want to clarify my understanding of that commercial space. So in past presentations, what I saw was 2 commercial spaces, one on either side. And it was also my understanding that Moxie would be one of those. Is this not correct?
So one of the commercial spaces is certainly slated for food and beverage, and it's meant to be a 2-meal restaurant. When I hear you reference the commercial space, I'm thinking the space that's not quite obligated at this point. There's a space that is not part of the restaurant, that is not part of the cafe, is not part of the lobby, and it's not exactly a formal meeting space. It's less than 1,000 square feet of space that we're calling commercial space that we are trying to figure out, do we create a gift shop? Do we use it as meeting space, additional private dining space? It's flexible. We don't have a rigid idea at this point, but certainly the ground floor space retail is meant to be, hotel entrance, food and beverage, and cafe. Moxie, we don't know if Moxie is going to come back in the building when it's built 2 years from now. I don't have an answer for that at this point.
Yeah, I can't imagine you would. I don't think anybody does. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Doty?
Yeah, I just think that locals will definitely be concerned about the future of Moxie, and they might also want to know, how much time is left for. I mean, what I'm hearing is it sounds like they may be around for less than a year, and that nothing is guaranteed for their future, not at this location anyway. So that was my misunderstanding, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a different issue concerning Moxie, which I'm happy to talk to you about offline too, Commissioner Doty. Commissioner Burley.
Yes, this is actually for the attorney. I'm kind of curious, I did read through this, but could you, in layman's terms, explain that if for some reason Moss Rock should sell this property before, how does that transfer go?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Caitlin Quander. Section 14 of the agreement really speaks to the transfer or assignment. And what it is framed up as is kind of, you could think of 2 different timeframes. So prior to completion of construction, if they want to sell the property and assign the agreement, they would have to come back to this board and ask for your consent, and you can't unreasonably withhold, condition, or delay it, right? So if it's a fair buyer, then you would likely have to grant that permission. They could choose to sell the property and just terminate this agreement. They would have every right to do that as a private property owner and just say, we don't need the incentive. We don't want to assign it. We're just going to terminate. So they could certainly do that. After construction, they have more ability to assign the agreement and sell the property as well, because the goal really for this authority is to see the project get completed. And so that's really the incentive around, you're engaging in negotiations with this developer to execute on the project and to see it through to construction.
Does that answer your question?
But I guess so then the party that would purchase, for example, after construction is still responsible for the Laura. Right?
So if they take an assignment of this agreement, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's always possible they could say, we don't want the increment. We don't want that help, and we would rather terminate. That could be a choice by a buyer. Otherwise, yes, they would take an assignment of the agreement along with the property and be able to receive the increment instead of this developer. Normally, they would essentially kind of work that into a purchase price, right? Of the idea that they could receive the increment over time instead of the developer as the new buyer.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I would entertain a motion. Commissioner Drysdale.
I move for approval of resolution 2302, a resolution of the Town of Lyons Urban Renewal Authority approving the redevelopment and reimbursement agreement with Moss Rock Development LLC.
Is there a second? Commissioner Dodsey, second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Drysdale.
Yes. If this were politics, I would view that the brief sentence on the plaque as a November surprise. I was quite taken aback at that it's quite vague, ambiguous, and at least my recollection different from where we were headed earlier. Now, I'm generally in favor of this concept and have been all along. But I think a lot of citizens would be quite surprised to see the word Marriott on a 24 by 24 plaque in front of the building. Now, the phrase that's incorporated in the agreement right now doesn't preclude the word Marriott being close to 24 inches by 24 inches, which is actually a pretty big sign in downtown small Lyons. Be easily seen from the street if it's outside. And presumably it would be at eye level or at a level that could be seen by a driver going by. It doesn't stipulate that the plaque would be indoors or outdoors. It doesn't say it would be at eye level. Could it be higher? It just seems to me to be vague and ambiguous. I don't think anyone would object to its tribute, right? The agreement, which I think is a great added value for the hotel to have a reservation system and so forth, and perhaps even some guidance that would come from tribute. But having the word Marriott with an unspecified size and how much of the space it would take, I think there would be quite a few people who would be very surprised by that, because at least my understanding, and I may not have been listening clearly enough, was that the word Marriott would not appear on signage with the hotel. Am I wrong about that?
No, Commissioner Drysdale, I don't think you're wrong. I will say, and I see that Commissioner Williams has her hand up. I will say that the Marriott has brand standards, and the Marriott brand standards for a situation like this would be the same across all of their properties. And so I don't think what we're gonna see is a 2 foot by 2 foot sign that just says Marriott. I think what we're gonna see is their standard ex hotel by Marriott sign, and Commissioner Williams, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, 2 points. One is that it was not in that meeting because they did not know at that point that they were going to have a relationship with Marriott. That's something that came up in the process of searching for funding. That's our understanding from our previous meetings. So it is in fact understandable that funding would depend on a relationship with one of the brands, either Hyatt, Hilton, or Marriott, since the vast majority of hotels to survive in the United States have to have that affiliation. Marriott has over 20 different brand names. There are only 2 that are independently owned and independently operated. They're what's called the Autograph Collection and the Tribute Portfolio. I've stayed in dozens and dozens of Autograph Collection properties. I've stayed in dozens, probably 12 to 20 Tribute Portfolio properties around the United States. It's a smaller brand than Autograph Collection. I have never seen a sign that was not only right next to the front door in all of those properties. And it is always says a Tribute Portfolio Hotel, has the name of the hotel, and then the plaque says a Tribute Portfolio Hotel, and then says beneath it Marriott. And then, as I said earlier, when you go inside, the only place you see the name is behind the check-in counter, where you see Marriott Bonvoy, which is the name of their frequent stayer program.
And right now, Dr. Vasquez, I just took a screenshot of an example
Okay.
of that since I'm sending to maybe you can screens. It's a really poor, quality.
The Magnolia Hotel in Denver is a portfolio property, and if you've ever been there, you would not know that it is if you weren't looking for it.
Commissioner Drysdale and others, on section 8F, where this language was added, it does say that the plaque will not be visible from the exterior of the building. Even though it does say it can be placed near the front door, it does say it's not visible from the exterior. So if that helps at all in the discussion.
So what's showing on the screen right now shows Cascade Hotel Kansas City Tribute Portfolio. There's no mention of Marriott.
There are Tribute Portfolio properties that do, underneath where it says Tribute Portfolio, do say Marriott. I have seen them before. Not all of them do, but some do.
No, I understand. Actually, my concern is not so much that I anticipate or think that people would do something other than what is being discussed verbally, but the agreement actually is very vague and ambiguous and would allow, for example, if the situation, if the agreement were transferred to another developer for whatever reason, either before or after construction. And it just seems to be a bit different than my previous understanding of how that might look. And again, I'm quite in favor of the Tribute relationship and the Marriott relationship, because I think Marriott is a respectable hotelier, and having access to the perks of the reservation system and so forth is excellent. That's all good. It's just the ambiguousness and vagueness of the phrase.
And I think Attorney Ponder might be able to address this.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one point from Victoria, and I know we're in discussion, so I don't know that Adam can actually answer this, but the qualification on other than a plaque of not greater than 24 inches by 24 inches located near the front entrance of the hotel is an exclusion from being visible. So I would read that they could put the plaque on the kind of as you're walking in the front door near the entrance. So it could be on the exterior because that's an exception from the other language, just to clarify that point.
Commissioner Dresta, did you have an amendment that you would like to suggest?
The only thing I might suggest, kind of off the head, because this came in just this afternoon, haven't had a whole lot of time to consider it, but would be to give the town the right to review and accept the language on the plaque. The URA.
Well, I believe that the contract between Moss Rock and the Marriott Corporation would be something that we would not be able to review and approve, or nor should we. I might suggest that the Laura approve the final placement of the plaque instead.
Well, to me, both the wording and the reason for doing that would not, because I think everybody wants that the hotel to be moved. So it's not like the URA would be in the position of saying, oh, well, there's a comma that doesn't comply with Marriott rules, so we're not going to do it. I don't think that's the reason for saying, having approval of the location and the wording is so that the most conservative position within the Marriott alternatives could be insisted upon.
I'd like to make a suggestion then, and I'd love to get wording from Attorney Quander if possible, but we specify that it is not visible on the exterior of the business. It may be at the entrance on the interior, front door or something like that. Can you be more specific instead of the words other than?
We certainly can. I guess my caution would be, I don't know if that is acceptable to Marriott or the developer, and you can certainly make a motion and approve it in the form you want, but if that ends up just being rejected by them and we have to come back with an amendment, it may just be better to continue the hearing to resolve this language, or not hearing, sorry, but continue this action. And we could bring the resolution and agreement back to you next month based on your guidance and what's able to be agreed upon. I just worry that that's certainly the board's choice. I mean, if you want to direct it with a motion to approve with whatever language you'd like, then we can see if the developer will accept it or not. But I can absolutely come up with language to make it more specific if you only want it to be on the interior.
I'd like to entertain the idea that you do, please.
So, and my concern is that we don't know what's in the agreement between Marriott and Moss Rock in terms of what, that the hotel owner has to agree to be part of the tribute collection. So this may be moot. I really wish that Adam were still on the line.
I requested a couple.
Yeah. Well, let me ask, in a moment, I'm gonna ask whether we would like to continue this hearing so that we can have that discussion with Moss Rock and potentially add that language. But before I do that, I want to know if anyone else has other comments or potential amendments they would like to make. That's unity. So it looks like we're down to the sign. Okay, so Victoria, do you have a preference as to whether we continue this hearing or or make the amendment and pass the resolution to?
I would like to offer to Attorney Quander to try to negotiate the intent of what the board has, and if so, pass it, approve this. If she's not able to do that, then we, bring it back.
So just to clarify, so you would like to, you have a motion on the table along with a second, and so we'd need to make it an amendment to that motion with some proposed language changes. And then you would vote, assuming the vote approves it, the agreement would be approved on behalf of the URA board with that modified language, and then the developer can either accept or not, and if not, then we would bring back a kind of a different agreement and probably terminate your prior approval.
Okay, so if they don't agree, then the URA would see this back again.
Correct.
More. Attorney Quander, do you have, I know it's asking you to work off the cuff here, but do you have an idea of proposed language?
Well, if the board was okay with the language of not greater than 24 inches by 24 inches, I think I would modify the located near the front entrance of the hotel to expressly state that it is on the interior. You can certainly, I don't know if there's a question around the size of the plaque as well, or if you want to add that the authority gets to review and approve of its placement or its design, kind of how far you wanted to go on that.
Commissioner Drysdale, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, is there some kind of language that would just enable the URA to sort of make sure that what we anticipate the sign to look like, as Commissioner Williams has described others, that's the way it would turn out, rather than it being something that would be a surprise to our residents.
Commissioner Doshie?
Yeah, I hear what Commissioner Drysdale is saying. I understand he's a little concerned about the ambiguity here, just, how vague. Maybe it would make sense to ask them. He came up with language when we asked Mr. Cassidy. He said it would be hotel something, attribute portfolio Marriott. I mean, if we could just get the language, it sounds like they have the language except for the name of the hotel. It sounds like they're working on that. And maybe it doesn't have to be specified the name of the hotel, but I can see the concern here. We're leaving it wide open, especially if it's not being approved or reviewed. And so maybe it does make sense if we're going to modify it to have them actually give the specific language.
I think we can certainly ask for that, and that's probably within their agreement with Marriott. However, they do not yet know the name of the hotel. So I don't know if that's possible. And I just really want to emphasize that this is a branding decision by the Marriott Corporation. This is how they work with their hotels. And so there's not going to be a lot of wiggle room there. If Mosrock signs this branding agreement with Marriott, then they must do what Marriott would like them to do. And I understand about the sign placement, and I think it's fine to discuss that. If what happens if they come back to us with the URA with the sign, and for whatever reason we don't like the font size of the word Marriott in the sign, and we say no, then Marriott could say, well, you Mosrock are in violation of the terms of our agreement. So it's, it's no longer a conversation about URA and Mosrock. It's now a conversation about URA, Mosrock, and Marriott Corporation. And unfortunately, we have no insight into the contents of the agreement between Mosrock and Marriott.
What about suggesting that
alter that language slightly about internal versus external, and then say that we agree to, or that an exhibit will be agreed to by both parties prior to installation. That way, if Marriott does have different levels of signage, some that say just tribute, some say tribute by Marriott, some say whatever, and they get to choose, then we could make that decision together.
Yeah, I think something like that would work.
If Attorney Ponder can identify how to word that the plaque would be inside and that an exhibit will be provided and agreed to by both parties prior to installation.
I think the interior I can easily do. I worry a little on the exhibit because it's sort of this agreement to agree of what happens if you don't agree. Are they in default? Are you in default? Like, and I think it would be a bit too cumbersome to lay out a lengthy process about, you know, how you're going to mediate the sign, right? So I'm a bit hesitant to just say that you will work to agree on it and not have a path on that resolution.
And, you know, if the sign is in the interior of the hotel, will it really matter? Would be my question.
It appears by the head shakes that to the majority it doesn't, but what I'm thinking though is if there really is an agreement between them, then they agree though to use the least obtrusive regarding Marriott. So not that you're not going to agree, they have a portfolio to choose from, but that we agree to work together to select which one is most appropriate in our community.
What about language that would say something like clearly emphasize the local name of the hotel? Just so, you know, in the agreement, it's clear. Right now, we're agreeing that they could put a, you know, little tiny thing at the top that says Lyons Hotel and a giant wording of Marriott. Not that they would. I'm not anticipating that they would. It's just the ambiguity of the language. That's all I'm really concerned about.
And I think emphasizing the local nature of the hotel, that to me sounds like that would be a good solution to this. And the way that I might phrase it is that the signage would emphasize the local nature of the hotel over the corporate brand. Attorney Quander, does that make sense?
It does. I'm typing right now so I can maybe pull it up on the screen for you all.
If she'll stand there, I'll turn the camera.
Commissioner Farrell is grabbing a painting that's 24 by 24 so that folks can see. That's a 24 by 24. Is it? Yep. So I think you want to.
Oh, she turned it down.
Turn the camera around. So this.
Oh, there we go. Now you're back.
Okay, Vanna.
So my knees are down here now. My chin to knee is above my knee. And it's. My elbows are. Right on my elbows.
So apologies all, I'm doing this on my Gmail, but just so I could pop it up really quickly for you, but here's the proposed language. This would be the change. Located near the front entrance of the hotel and the interior of the hotel that emphasizes the local nature of the hotel over the operating brand.
You still need to see sense of size. I don't think personally 24 by 24 is
obnoxious. Yeah. Could you reshare your screen, please, as your new pointer? For clarity's sake, the one change I would make here would be to put a period after the word hotel. Interior of the hotel, period. The sign will emphasize the local nature of the hotel. So make it two sentences, otherwise it's unclear what that refers to.
Sure, I will make that.
I would have it using the word shall be a default. Can we soften that a little bit and put in something like may at the discretion of the URA be considered insult? Because, I mean, we don't want to, I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench in there. It's more just putting the URA in a position of strength as possible relative to signage, because I'm sure we're all aware that there will be objections to even a little teeny tiny word of a chain run, and not to put things off track, but just to put the URA in the strongest position it can be relative to the signage.
So I would recommend just keeping it at shall be a default. I mean, as a board, you all still have to decide if you're going to actually call a default. And you would then give them notice under the agreement and they would have the ability to cure and fix that. So you as a board could decide not to call a default and work on fixing the plaque or whatever. You can certainly choose as a board to address it more softly at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
So would you do us a favor and share your screen one more time, Attorney Finder, and I'll ask Commissioner Drystad if he would like to make an amendment.
Actually, I'm just gonna, if I could interject real quick too. Apparently what I held up was 36 by 36, so it will be smaller. I'm sorry, 32 by 32. So 24 by 24 is smaller than what I showed you.
Okay, Commissioner Drystad, would you want to make an amendment?
Yes. I move for inclusion of the revision by Councilor Quander to be a modification to the resolution.
And Commissioner Drystad, that's an amendment on your motion, correct?
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Commissioner Bean? Great, thank you, Commissioner Bean. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Williams?
We are acting then on the original motion or on the amendment?
On the amendment.
Correct.
All right, if there's no additional discussion, I will call for a vote on the amendment.
Two against.
So that passes.
Yes,
So
9-2.
great. All right, are there any additional amendments?
7-2.
If there's no additional discussion, then I will call for a vote on the resolution. All in favor?
Commissioner Drystad has his hand raised.
No, it's.
Are you voting for Commissioner Drystad?
Oh, okay.
Please
I'm
vote.
voting yes.
Motion passes all in favor.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay. Well, that is the conclusion of our general business. So, well done, everybody. Thank you so much, staff, for the hard work on this. Cassie, you have walked us through more meetings than I can count to make sure that we understand how this works. So really appreciate that. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wait a second. Okay. Discussion. We'll call for the vote. Thank you.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
See you guys.
You.
Good night.